Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my annual update on the If I Could Only Keep 10 Palettes video. So this is a concept I got from someone else. I've seen a few people do this and I really like this as a video thought experiment to see if I really pared down everything from the 100-ish things that I own to 10 palettes, what would I keep? And I think it's a fun way to also track year by year how my makeup preferences and style have changed, which they definitely have a lot, especially when you look at the first one of these when it was almost all drugstore makeup and bright colorful makeup, and you will see a very different collection here. But I also like this because it's not something permanent. It's something that I can do once a year as a check-in and then, go back to having all the pretty things that I own. And if you are new here, welcome. My name is Colin. I'm a non-binary Latinx scientist and lover of makeup, and I really like sparkly indie eyeshadow and high-end and luxury makeup, and you will see both of those here today. And I tend to be pretty analytical in the content I make. I just try to make thoughtful, analytical videos, and I have new content every week, so I'd really love to have you subscribe. Okay, so before I begin, I think some of these things are discontinued, so I won't be able to link all of them, but I will link what I can, or I'll link to the brand at least, so if you are interested, you can look. And this is less about giving you a list of things to buy and just like a check-in on preferences and taste. I had a very hard time this year. I narrowed it down to like 15, and then getting from 15 to 10 was very hard. So other years when I have filmed this video, I've tried to make it the most versatile collection that I could, where I was like, okay, I have one rainbow palette, I need to include that. This has really dark tones, this has really bright tones, I need to have like one of everything, was kind of how I approached it 2 years ago or so, and a little bit last year. This year, I did try to make sure there wasn't like 10 identical looking things, but I did try, it is really just like my favorite tones. So I don't have a rainbow palette in here this year. I don't own a rainbow palette anymore. I've decluttered it. So it's a little different in that aspect because I wasn't trying to fit like, okay, here's all the different color cosmetic categories or colorful eyeshadow categories of like bright colorful, dark colorful, neutral, warm. Like I wasn't trying to fit a palette into each category. I was just going with my gut. So that is a little, and just grabbing things as I was like, that has to be there, that has to be there. So, and then thinking, once I had all 15 in front of me, like, okay, what's redundant here? So hopefully that makes sense as you go through. If you are interested in the makeup that I'm wearing, I will have it in the description box like always. I put on kind of my go-to everyday favorites lately. I'm also working on my yearly favorites video, which will be coming in a couple days. I just don't have time to film that today because I think it's going to be a lot longer than this. So I started to do my makeup as if that's what I was going to film, and then I was like, I don't have time. But I have my Elise Eldridge skin tint, the Victoria Beckham concealer on. I'm wearing a couple of the palettes on my eyes today. And then I'm wearing like 3 lips because I couldn't decide on what I liked the best. So this is Elise Eldridge neutral lip liner, an Hermes lipstick, and then a YSL Candy Glaze, the brown one, over it to kind of like neutralize how bright the Hermes was looking. So, but I'll have everything linked like normal. So the first palette is probably not going to be a surprise to anyone who's seen my videos or this video in my series before, because I think it's been in most of these since I got it, and it was the first thing that came to mind, and it is Pat McGrath Midnight Sun. My box is messed up. I already took the actual palette out, but this is my favorite Pat McGrath palette. I think it's also her most underappreciated mothership. It's just so pretty. It's the first one I ever bought. This was the first Pat McGrath thing I ever bought, and I think it's always going to be my favorite, not just because of that, but because it was like the perfect one for it to be my first. If this was 15 palettes or so, there would be a couple other motherships in here. Like Subversive was hard not to include, but I love this. I've got a really good warm, like golden leaning warm matte shade that I can use as a transition shade. There's a charcoal brown, so it doesn't go quite, it's not a black, but I do have other black matte shadows in here. Got a nice red if I want it, but it's that kind of terracotta rusty red versus like a bright cherry red, like the giant gnome's hat sitting next to me. You've got an olive green, you've got a blue purple, a very sparkly kind of sheer shade, which I do have a little bit tapped on in the center. And then, you know, a couple like this nice neutral bronze. It's a really great palette. I think it's underappreciated among Pat McGrath's motherships, and it's my favorite. It's very earthy. I would love, since we didn't get a mothership this year, I really hope she branches out a little bit and does a really spectacular one next year, or like a trio like she started with or something, although that would hurt my wallet if I liked all of them. But I would love to see like a green earthy, like an even earthier version, like a green based one. That would be so pretty. So this had to be included. I love it. I use it all year round. It's one of my favorite things that I own. And if I had to repurchase everything, this would be one of the first things I would get, as long as I could get it on a deal, because she doesn't have sales. You should wait for a sale. The next palette is one that I think I included last year, and it is one of my most used palettes in general, and also something I travel with a lot, because it's small and versatile, and it is the Surratt Beyond Beige Quad. So this is a $100 quad. It's almost as much as that entire mothership palette, but the formula is really beautiful, really forgiving and easy to use, because it is a Japanese slurry formula, and it's just like the perfect little neutral quad. Every time I've traveled in the last year and a half, I've taken this with me. I've used it. I use this as the base of a lot of other looks, where if I don't know what I want to do, I will use these mattes and create a neutral smoky eye and then throw something sparkly over the top. But if I want, I do have some very soft satin shimmers right here, so you can do a very easy, elegant, everyday look. So I love this. This was sent to me in PR, and I do have a discount code with Surratt. I think it's Bones15, which when they do sales, those often stack, so it's like a really great deal. I know people who have been able to do that, but I love this. I am so happy that they sent this to me, because I don't know if I would have bought it, but now that I own it, if something happened to it, I would buy it again, you know? Like, I wouldn't have seen this online and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna spend $190 to something on a little brown quad. But now that I own it, I get it. And if you can get it on a sale, that's always better. So the next palette is one that has been in, I think, every one of these that I've done as well, kind of like Midnight Sun. It is a discontinued palette, and I almost took it out for something else, and I will show you the other thing because it's sitting right here. But it is the Kaleidos Club Nebula. This is discontinued. Angelica has her own brand now and did just release a palette that is not a dupe, but of similar vibes. And I didn't pick it up yet. I think I do want it. I just haven't. I was like, my budget's spent, Christmas is coming up, I'll wait. But it does look really pretty. I was gonna swap this out. I could, you know, put in the Viseart dark mattes, petite dark mattes. I do have that, so it does have a bunch of dark mattes, although this is a little bit more colorful than those. That leans a little more neutral earthy, like some of the other things you're gonna see, but just very dark. But this also has some iridescent shades. In this scenario, I'm assuming I would keep my singles, so I would still have a lot of sparkly indie singles and shadows for that. So I didn't try to pick just palettes that had a bunch of sparkly shimmers because I would have them as singles still, since I don't have the biggest collection of that. But what I do have is a lot and useful. But this does have some really beautiful ones if I just wanted to use this. And I like that you've got greens, you've got blues, you've got cool tones, you've got kind of purple, you've got red and peach. Even though I don't really wear red, if I was gonna wear red, it would be something like Midnight Sun or this one here. And I have used them a handful of times. Midnight Sun's more than this. I am wearing a little bit of this Firefly shade over some other shimmers you'll see later. I did kind of a smoky satin green look, and then threw this over because I just wanted a little something more. And that's, once I had some other stuff in here, which we'll see in the next palette that I'll talk about. Swapping the other option with it kind of took away some dark mattes, like dark blues and dark teals. And so I really wanted to have those because I do really love those tones. The palette that this was almost replaced by was the Nocturnal palette from Climatrix, because again, really unique, colorful shades. But they both have a lime green. They're different limes. They both have one. They both have kind of a lighter blue. This has this teal. They both have a dark purple. This has these neutrally tones here and really special shimmers. So this was gonna be in the list until right before I started. And then I was like, nope. I swapped those other two, or that other one for that one. So I really wanna make sure I have these dark tones in here. So, and I still love this. I love the concept, I love the theme, I love the colors. Still works years later. I would not get rid of this. I wish the packaging was thinner, but like, that's my only complaint. So it did survive another year of doing this and didn't get swapped out. So the next palette is kind of my everyday neutral, but with a bit of a pop and a little bit more sparkle and special. And it is the Natasha Denona Yucca palette. I love this. I think this ranked as my favorite Natasha Denona palette last year. I just really love this. This is an olive palette, and when I was looking at everything else, I was like, okay, like Midnight Sun has that olive green shimmer, but I don't have any good olive mattes in any of the other things, really. Kind of a spoiler. And olive greens and olive leaning browns are my favorite for everyday because of my skin tone and my undertones, so I had to include this. And it does have some of, I think these are her best shimmers she's ever done. They're really sparkly. They're on par with a lot of indie shades. They're really special. So this had to be included. I was gonna include Metropolis, which is much bigger. It has 28 pans instead of 15. And it does have a dark blue. It does have a dark teal and her cream to powder, which I love. It has some olivey neutral shades and it has some warm shades. It's a big palette, has a lot of shades, so that's part of why I was gonna pick it, because one, I think it's my second favorite, and two, it's really versatile for that. But it didn't have like these true olive shades or these shimmers, and that's why this one beat it out. And so because I didn't have some of the darker shades that are in Metropolis and some of those shades, that's why Club Nebula ended up beating out Nocturnal. That's why I left Nocturnal out so I could talk about it, because there's a thought process. I just love this. I want to see more like this. The last couple of things she's done have been pretty monochromatic or neutral. I mean, this is kind of monochromatic, but olive. I like Golden a lot, and I love the Warm palette, and I didn't buy the Roxa palette because it leaned too pink, but there were shades in it I wanted. But this is her best that I think she's ever done. So I had to include this, especially for those olives. I think if you have an olive undertone or a golden undertone, I think that's definitely a palette you should check out. At least like try to swatch it for Ulta or something, because it's like made for, especially that like light medium to tan skin tone, golden olive range. Like it's made for that. So the next palette is a new palette this year. It came out at the start of this year, and it has quickly become one of my favorites. It is the basis of the look that I'm wearing today under this more limey shimmer. The like iridescent lime from Club Nebula. And it is the Byredo Mineralscape. So these are a big mirror. You can see my lights because the sun sets at like 3:30 here in the winter. Because Seattle is so far north. But this is one of my favorite things that I've ever seen as far as like eyeshadow go. It's earthy and neutral, but colorful at the same time, but colorful in a really subdued, earthy way. So I like Midnight Sun and some other stuff like that have an earthiness to it that are a little bit more, when you think earthy, a lot of people think like more desert tones. Like brown, warm brown, soiled colors, clay colors, all of that. But this is forest earthy. Like the theme for this was the forests in the fjords in Scandinavia, and you can really see that. You've got the color of rocks, you've got clay soil, you've got cloudy, like gray skies, you've got blue for the water and the rivers, green for the trees. It's just really beautiful. So it's like my forest water palette, and I love it. I used this matte today as the base, and then I used both of these shimmers on the lid for kind of a dark smoky green look. And then because I picked Club Nebula and I wanted a little extra sparkle for camera, I threw that on top. But I love these. And this is like, when you think of a few years ago, for me, I wore stuff like Club Nebula, like those bright punchy colors every day. Just really bright blue every day, bright green, bright yellow, something like that. This is the color that I grab now. It's a little more desaturated, a little more subdued. It's still colorful. You still got blue and green and purple, but it's more desaturated. And that's what I gravitate towards now for the last probably 2 years. So this definitely had to make the list. The next palette is another one that's been on here before, and it is the Isamaya Industrial Palette. So I was tempted to put Industrial 2 on here, which is all special sparkly shimmers in different colors and textures, and it was very hard not to include that one as well. And if this was a 15-pan version of this, that would definitely be included with Subversive. But if, like I said, if I'm keeping all of my singles, I don't necessarily need to have that. And this is like my grungy, murky favorite thing. So you do have some brighter tones, like you've got this lime here, which I could have put on here. You've got an iridescent blue. You've got the putty shades for like a really nice base of a smoky eye. You have some browns. Everything has a little bit of green to it. It's almost all shimmer except for the putties. But everything's like a little murky, a little grungy in the sense of like grunge, and not just like not brown. Like there's actual grunge and dirt and like a little grit to it. Like a little ashiness, and everything's kind of watercolory, and I just feel like I'm painting when I use it, and I really love it. I know this was it's a controversial brand, controversial palette. Some people hated this, and then I saw some people throwing it away after she came out with those lipsticks, which I own. But that I've talked about in other videos, but I love this. This will always be here. I hate that Industrial 2 was limited edition, and I want more, especially more like this. But I'm glad this is seemingly permanent, because if this went bad or something, I would definitely need a repeat or a backup or a replacement. Okay, so the next one is something that's not been on one of these before, I don't think. Maybe it was here last year. We'll see. But that is the Nomad Hudson Valley palette. So this was sent to me in PR. And I do have a code with Nomad. It's not affiliated, but I do have a code. I love this. I've been feeling very homesick lately for the Northeast. If you've never been here before, I spent most of my adult life living out there, like in Connecticut and Brooklyn. So I didn't live in the Hudson Valley itself, but, you know, close. And it's just so pretty. It makes me think of the Northeast. I miss the Northeast so much. And it's also like the perfect fall palette in my opinion, because most are just, and I sound like a broken record when I say this, but most fall palettes are just that, like the color of the leaves. But this also has the lichen, mossy rocks, and like these like soily, desaturated neutrals over here. So I love this. The shimmers in this are pretty, but I have other shimmers as well if I want more pop, but these are nice. But this is also like the only like true warm, bright colors that I picked, as you'll see. So that also played into it, but just like the theming, the colors, I love this palette. This has been discontinued. It makes me really sad. I don't know if there's still any available, but I know once it's gone, it's like gone for good. So I love it. I think it's one of the best things, maybe the best thing Nomad's done. I think they've made some tweaks to the formula, and some of their shimmers and some of their stuff is a little better now. I mean, that's still good, but like even better. But that, like the theming and the colors just like really get me. Okay, so the next palette is another one that I think has been here for a while. And it is Pat McGrath again, and that is Subliminal. This is the Mothership #1. And I love this so much. I want more stuff like these two palettes, or like her first 3 and that one. Like I said, if this was 15, I would also include Subversive, but I couldn't, with only 10, I couldn't have 3 Motherships in here. So this is like my perfect cool tone palette. So I've got a nice taupe, I've got a black, a nice dark charcoal, but like cooler than that one. Like it's like dark brown with a little charcoal to it. Love this satin purple shade here. This kind of taupey brown is also really beautiful as a one and done. You've got the blue. Blue and green are my favorite colors. Blue is my favorite color, but for eyeshadow, it's kind of tied. Kind of leaning more towards green nowadays, but something about a blue shimmer. You've got the blue iridescent shade. I just love this. I think it is iconic for a reason, and this would be the other, like if I lost everything, I would want to go pick up those 2 Pat McGrath palettes like right away. Okay, so I have 2 palettes left. I'll be curious to see if anyone guesses them. Let me know if you do in the comments. The next one is going to be another newer palette this year that I got only a few months ago. I got it in the end of summer. No, I didn't get this in the end of summer. I got this fall. And it is a Suku quad. So I finally tried Suku. I've wanted to try them forever. I finally tried them when I was in London. I bought one of their quads and got to swatch a bunch of stuff at the store before I bought anything, and immediately fell in love. And I bought 2 more quads after trying that one on the eyes. And then not long after I got home, they sneak peeked their winter collection, which was around my birthday in September. And so a birthday present to myself was this collection. It came with 2 quads, but I picked this one. The other one is blue teal, and I do really like that one, but I had to pick this one. So you've got a cool tone brown here, and then 3 shimmers. So this is just a topper, like a sparkly topper, really beautiful. And then the 2 shimmers here are a little bit more satin, metallic, and you've got a charcoal. It looks kind of gray here, but it does pull charcoal. Like there's a little bit more black in it than it looks here. It looks almost silver. And then this really beautiful desaturated cool tone purple. So I throw this on the lid, blend it out, put one of these on the lid, or both of them. I love this. It's so pretty. And it was really hard not to pick at least one Lisa Eldridge palette. I had a couple in the 15. I really love Lisa Eldridge's Eyeshadow formula, and I use them every week. But this is a little cooler, and I didn't want to have too many tiny palettes, so having like the like more neutral warm Surratt and then this really cool tone quad was like, I think the perfect like 2 small quads. And I just love this. So had to include Suku. This is the quad 142. They all have Japanese names as well, but it's always really easy with the number 142. And then the last palette is another repeat, and you might have guessed it if you've been around, and it is another Byredo. And it is the Flora Kalahari palette. So this is from 3 years ago. Love the front with the flower, but don't want to blind you. Again, earthy neutrals, what I go for. This is just really special. I did get this way after the fact. I thought I had been sold out for months when I finally was like, yes, I want to splurge and buy it. And we were visiting a friend in LA during kind of an annual trip. And he lives right by a Byredo boutique in LA. and I wanted to go in and swatch stuff and look at things, and they had it, and I asked if they had any in stock. She's like, yeah, we have like 3, and I bought it immediately. I love this. If the Mineralscapes from this year is the Forest Winter Neutral, Earthy Neutral, this is Desert Earthy Neutral. I mean, Flora Kalahari Desert. I almost kept it out because I have Midnight Sun, but this has more mattes to it and just different tones. Like this is more neutral brown versus the gold in that one. You've got this orange here, you've got this like red brown down here, a cool, like a more taupe brown, red shimmer, this blue shimmer, you've got another olive. I think those like neutrals with the olive and the blue kind of are why I thought of Midnight Sun, but you've got a sparkly black that is really pretty. And then like bronze shades and these like washes of like peachy pink coral. I just can't not include it. I am really excited to see what they do this next year because I wish I had the colorful one that they first did, but I've bought all 3 scents and it's like the thing I'm most excited for every year now. Okay, so those are my picks. Those are the top, not 10, those are the 10. Let me know what you think of the ones I picked. How would you pick? I'd love to know, especially if you don't have a channel and you have a bunch of eyeshadow palettes like I do, because I know a lot of my subscribers and stuff do. What would you pick as your like top 5 or top 10, or what if you could only have those, what would you narrow it down to? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I think it's a good way to look at your collection and then kind of see where your tastes and where your heart is kind of lying. So let me know what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. It helps the channel so much, and I've been growing a lot again lately, and it's making me very excited. So thank you, and I will see you all in my next video.